Hey guys, I am Nishant and welcome to Cybernatico. So in this video, I will be sharing my knowledge on how to create the best React architecture because I am a React developer. So you can use this type of architecture in other frameworks or libraries as well, like Angular or Svelte or anything. But let me share it in React, how to create. So the first step to do that is to use this tool called Vite. So to click get started here. So this uses a build tool called Rollup, and you have heard of Create React app. So my suggestion is to not use CRA or Create React app, but to use this Vite. It's much faster. To create an app with Vite, just type npm create Vite at the rate latest and enter. It will ask you the project name first. So let's add React architecture. Enter. So we need React, we need JavaScript, and that's all. Now what we need to do is go to the folder. So let's navigate React architecture. We will have public folder, source folder, and all the things. You should see that this index.html file, it is outside the source folder. But in CRA, create React app, it's inside. We have package.json and with config.js. So this was the first step, like to use Vite, not use create React app. Now we have to install all the node modules. So we can do npm I and enter. So it will install all the packages here from this dependencies and it will be faster. Now we can see the node modules here as well. Fine. Now to start the Vite project or Vite app, all we need to do is just do npm run dev and it will start. Now we can go to this local URL 12700 and 1 dot like this :5173 falana dimkana. Okay, fine. So in the source folder, we have assets that contains SVG or images. We have CSS, we have index.jsx. Fine. So the first step is done to create a React app, not using CRA, but using Vite. So the next step is to do this. Let me create a folder here called components. First, components, and you will see the icon will change. By the way, I am using this theme called material icon theme that has this look. So you can add that. So after the components, let's create another folder called pages. And again, the icon will change. Now we have components, we have pages. Let's create one services folder. Fine. Now we have components, pages, and services. Fine. So in the components folder, it will contain all the components. This pages will contain all the pages, and this will contain all the services and microservices. So in pages, let's first create a page. Let's say home.jsx. Let's say this will serve as the home page. So we can type RFC to create the boilerplate code for home page using all this. Now, this home is just a page, but we also need to create one component. So we will create a home component as well, like home.jsx. Inside, we will do the same thing, and we will call this home.jsx inside the pages folder or the home.jsx page file. So import home dot like this, import it and simply return it here as JSX. Now we have to call this pages inside this app.jsx. So we can remove all this. We can remove this div, this state called count, React logo used at home. Fine. Fine. Now we will return the home page. So we can say import home from pages home and simply return it here like this. But we have a problem that this is just a home. So what we will do is we will make the home as home page. So rename it as well, like homepage.jsx. Now save this and here make it as a home page and it will work. You will see the home page here. So we first created a page called homepage.jsx. Inside we are calling this home.jsx in the components. Because what if we had a component like a navbar or a footer and we want to use it in multiple places? So simply we can call this home component from components home.jsx from this component. Now let's come over to services. What should this contain? So let's say we have what is service? A service is a thing or it's a service that does something like an API call. So we can make it as api.js or JSX. First, let me create a folder then, which will be called API. Inside the folder, let's create a file called index. Sorry, not index. Yes, we can make it as index.jsx like this. So we have this. What is it? Index.jsx. Fine. Let me close this. Now here we can call an API, and to do this we can simply do export const, let's say fetch users. We have an API called fetch users. So inside this we will call our API using fetch or xuse. So let me go over to jsonplaceholder.com and get some APIs from it like this. Simply call this. Fine, but we need the users. What is the, yes, it's users. I don't need one, so remove it. It will console this response, but we don't need it in the console. We need it returned. So what we will do is we will remove all of these and simply add a return keyword here. Let's see what it gets us. Now we have to call this function inside this home component. So we can say import this function fetch users from API. Wait, let me go 2 steps back. It's services/API. Now we need to call it. So better to get a use effect hook to mount it when it runs. I mean the component mounts. Say use effect. Okay, I think I imported the wrong. Okay, I think it's fine. I imported the wrong hook. I imported, I think, use state hook, but we need use effect. Okay. Then we can call this fetch users. So let's see what it gets us. So we need to store this data getting returned from here into a variable or a state. So we can say let data or let users equal to fetch users. Then we can simply console.log users. Now if you check in the console, let me bring it down. Open the console and see it's a promise. So we have to make a promise based call. So to do that, let's create a function. So say const get users. An arrow function is this. And let's call it here. Okay, not, yes, just get it here. Fine. Now we have to call this function inside the user effect hook. But as it said, it's a promise, we have to use async await. So we make the function async and await the fetch users. Now we will get all the data. So we can filter it out using users. Wait a second. Yes, users dot body, I think. No, not body. Let's try data. So it's undefined. Okay, let me check. Yes, so what we need to do is in this index.jsx, we need to make this returned as a JSON format. Whatever we are getting as a response, we need to make it as a JSON like this. Now it will work. So remove data from here and we'll get all the users. So this is how this API folder works in services. So we can have many services like API or anything like that. Fine. So the next thing is to create a layout page. So make a page called layout.jsx. Sorry, it's a folder. So make a layout. In the layout, let's have a page called, let's say, home.jsx. So this stuff is a little bit advanced. So let's say we have a home page like this. But actually, we will not render home div here. We will just call this page here from this pages homepage.jsx. So we can say import homepage. Okay, let me. I think import homepage from 2 steps back pages / homepage. Now render it here. So why are we creating this layout? And now we have to call this layout inside this app.jsx. So we can remove this and say import home from layout and call it here. And we will get the same thing, this home text. But why are we doing this? Why are we importing the layout, not the page? Let's suppose we have a nav bar. First, let me wrap in this the home page inside a fragment. So let's say we have a, let's say, a div. We have a nav bar and one footer. So we will have the nav bar, then the center item like the home or profile page or anything, and the footer page like that. So we can reuse the component over and over again. We don't have to call the nav bar and the footer again and again in every page. That's why we have a layout. So let's say we have a home page, we have a profile page or settings page or something like that. We can simply call it here using React router or routing. So that's about that layout. Now the next thing we need is to create common components folder. So what does that mean? So let's say we have a common folder here. Let's say we have a design or a Figma design. In the design, we have some components like input field, say input.jsx. We have a button which is common everywhere in this website or app. So we can make button. We can make input. So we have two components here, input and button. So let's say we want to use these components everywhere, like at most places. So we can use these common components. We don't have to use, like, for example, let's say we wanted one input inside this home.jsx. So we could have done something like this: input placeholder, enter your name. We could have done something like this. Let me remove name or comment home first. Yes, we have this, but let's say it had some styling, and we want to reuse this everywhere. Let's suppose in a case that some styling change according to the designer or manager, we have to change the design in every like component or in every page. Like let's say we have a home, we have a profile, and all of them have separate inputs. So in that case, we have to change it everywhere and it will be hectic. Instead, we can simply create a common component like this input, put this input inside and call it here. Like, let me close this, close this. Yes, and just call the input component here. So we can say import input from common input and replace the input as component, and the same thing will be here. But what if we want to change the placeholders? For example, let's say we want one input for name, then we want one input for, let's say, what can we say, age. So in this case we can pass props, so we can say input placeholder will be a prop. So in the first one we will say enter your name, or just we can pass name. In the second one we will have age because we want age. And in this input.jsx we can simply get the placeholder like this and replace the name and age like this. So let me remove this. We can say enter your and then followed by this placeholder. Then we will see enter your name and your age. So that's also a thing that we can implement for a better React architecture. Fine. So now what should we do here? Now, yes, let's talk about styling, or let's say CSS or SCSS. So I prefer using SCSS, not CSS. And to use SCSS or SAS, we can simply install it. npm i SASS. It will install here. And we can see that in package.json. This. Fine. Now we can simply use SAS without any hassle. So we'll create one more component here, which will be SCSS. And you can see the icon of SCSS coming here. So, for example, let's say we want the code like this styling for this input. So in the input.jsx, we can simply assign a class name, which will be input hyphen field. I think that's hyphen. Yes, it is. So now we have to copy the class input field and add the styling. So this is a common component, right? So we have to create one common .scss as well, like this, and say input field. Let's say we need the height to be 30px. Then we need what can we say? We don't need the background to be black. We need it to be white. Then we need the color of the placeholder to be black. So we can add all of these, just a sample. But as you see, it will not work because we have not linked this common.scss to any JSX file. So we can do that at the root level here. So as you see, we are importing the app.css here. We can simply import this common component like common SCSS inside this app.css. So do it at the top. So we can say how to import SCSS in this. So I think import, let me check how to import SCSS. Okay, I guess this is CSS, so it will not work. We have to make this as CSS and save this. Now in this app.jsx, we have to make this as SCSS. Now it will run fine. No, it's not. I guess we need, what do we need? Okay, I think this have to be removed. Fine, it's now working. So why we're searching for how to import SCSS file in SCSS file. Let's see. Yes, we use this @import. @import the URL of the file. So we can say one step back, I think. Let's say SCSS and common.scss. Now you see that this will be changed. See, it's now working. We have the background colored as white and colored as black, and the height increased. Fine. Fine. So what should we do next here is this. So we have created this index.scss I mean common CSS file. But what about the fonts? Suppose we want some fonts. So we can create one more file called fonts.scss. So we can go to fonts.google.com and copy any font that you want. So let me copy all of these and add it here. So we have all these fonts. Fine. So we can simply call these fonts either in the common.scss file or in the app.css file or scss file. So we can say import this, not two steps, one step back, font.scss, and it will work. So let's try to change the font of this input placeholder, which will be font family. Let's say Poppins, because I think it's imported. No, it's not imported. Try Lato, or whatever it is called. Now if you save, you will see this font has been changed. Fine. So that was it for CSS. Now one more thing in this CSS is, SAS is, let's say we want to create some common styling blocks. For example, let's say, let me show you. In the home.jsx, let me comment out these two input fields. Let's say we have a div. Inside we have, let's say, three more divs. We can say class block red, and just copy this and paste it 2 times. 3 times. It will be 3 now. So we can say block blue and block green. In this div, let's say we want to have a flex. So we can create a flex item, flex box in SCSS. So we can name this class as flexbox, like this. So what we will do is, in the common.css, it is linked. So we will use the common styling and it will be called display as flex. But first, let me just copy this block red and add it in the home.jsx component. So we can create one more styling here, which will be home.scss. And by the way, we need to create a folder as well, home page, and we will move both JSX and SCSS inside the home. Fine. Now we have some problems because we have changed the imports, so it is in the pages folder. So go to pages, home page, and components, home, and home. Now it will work. Okay, again in services as well. Wait, fetch users. What is this one? Services. What is this one? In pages, not in the pages. Okay, fine. Yes, I got it. This route. This is not working because it's outside. So we can say this and it will not work. Yes. It also gives you the auto import change. So if you move a component in a folder, the imports will automatically change and you have to just save it. Fine. So you have block red, block blue, and block green. So just import the home.scss file here. So we can say import home.scss. Now all the styling for this home page, which is separate from other pages, will be contained here. So we can say block red, background color red, like this. We need width 300 pixels and the height as 300 pixels as well. Now save and we will have this. I think 300 is too much. Let's try 100. Yes, we have this red one. Now let's do the same for blue and green. So we can say this and we can set this. Fine. Then let's make it green. This is blue. And we have all of these. Fine. But what about this flex box item? So it's in flex as you see because we have display flex. If we remove this, this will be in like this vertical column wise. Fine. Let's bring it back. So let's say you want a flex box item. So we can declare it here simply. We can now use this flex box anywhere. Let's suppose we want these three items to be in space between manner from flexbox. So we can create a class other which will be called space between, and we can simply do let's say justify content space between. Then we can copy the class and simply add it here and it will work, but it's not working. So I guess why. Let's try gap 20 pixels. I think it's working. Yes, if we add gap it will work. Okay, let me comment. Okay, it's fine, leave it. We have some problems in nav r, it's not nav bar. So in the layout, make it as nav bar like this and it will be fine. Okay, so now we have this common CSS component where we can reuse and reutilize the classes like flexbox or space between, even a grid. So in the grid we will have to make display as grid and then we can use it. Fine, so that was it for the styling. Now what about data passing and transferring from components to components? So basically we can use three things. First is context API, second one is React Redux or toolkit, and third one is, what was the third one? I think it's React Query. Yes, we can use all of these three. I mean not all of them, but one of them. So I prefer to use context API. So you can set up at the base level, which is this app.jsx. To set up the the context API, let me go over to my GitHub account. In this GitHub, my GitHub account, we have this repo called React Interview Questions. Fine. So go to this repo, select context API, go to source folder, go to this app.js file, and we will have this thing, provider. So let me just copy this and add it here. So it will open and it will close. So this is done like this. So what it will do is it will create a provider that like a common file that will contain all your data in one file. And let me remove the value for now. Okay, yes. So as you see, we are importing this user-iterated provider. So this is from a global context or a global file. So in the context, we have this global context. So let's create one more folder called context. And as the icon suggests, it is a common type of file where we have all the states stored. So we can say global context.jsx. Now we need to copy the contents like this. First we need to import a thing called create context from React. So import create context from React, and then we need to export the user data like this. So what is user data? So if we go back into components, I think it's not here. Okay, we are importing this user data. Yes, it's a common type of thing which is inside this. So we have to import this user data here, like in this app.js we are importing. So we can say import user data from context, global context, and it has a provider like this. Provider means we are storing the data, and I guess that's what it means. Now let's say we have this name, set name, and age. We can pass these things. For example, let me create two states here, yes, and also import the use state hook from React. So import use state from React. Now we can do this. So let's say we want to pass this name in the home page. So we can simply say value for this context provider. Then we need to destructure the name like this. Let's suppose we want to pass this age. Now whatever component is getting rendered inside this home page, I mean, sorry, not the home page, inside this user context or user data provider, we'll have the privilege to access this name and age. So let me create one more component here called profile. In this, simply create profile.jsx. Let me make this here profile. Now let me call this inside the layout, which is this. Just for a simple demo, what we are doing. So we are importing profile in home page like this, not in the home layout. Yes. Now we will see the profile as well. So let me comment out. Wait, let me open home.jsx. Comment this block. Now we will have only the profile. And let me bring back this simple text called home. So we have navbar, home, profile, and footer from this layout where it is, this home layout. Fine, close it. Now save this. Yes. So let me call, wait a second, what is this app.jsx? We are calling this home layout. So this home layout should now be able to access this name and age properties. So let's say we wanted another layout. So let me better create it called profile.jsx. And let me remove this profile from here and add it in this page. So we can say profile. So now this profile layout has the profile page rendered or the component. So also we have to import it. So it should come from here and like this. But I have to change the, no, I don't think we have to change it. Yes, I have to change it. Okay, let's say profile component. Now it will work fine. Okay, we have to wait a second. What's happening? This is the component. Okay, then we have this profile. Save this, and this we have to get the layout here. So we can say import profile from layouts or layout profile. Simply render it here. Now we have two layouts, profile and home. But something is wrong, I guess. Let me check. Let me refresh the page. Or I think we have some errors. Let me open or just close this and npm run dev again. Now it will run. I guess we have some problems that I created. So okay, we don't need this here. Why are we importing it here again? Now it will work, I guess. So just close this and add it here. Still not working. Okay, I guess we have to make this profile layout. Yes. Now if you copy this and simply call this inside this profile layout and here save. Let's see the okay, we are seeing nothing now. Open the console. I think some error we have. Okay, profile is not defined in profile layout. So let's open this. Okay, we have to import it also. Okay, fine. So import profile. What I am typing. So import this profile component from components slash profile dot slash profile. Now let me give it a refresh. One more error we have. Still in the profile layout. Okay, it's component. Okay, fine. I am lost today. Now we are getting this perfectly. We have home and footer and profile, but okay, let's say we have navbar, we have home, we have footer, we have profile. So we are wrong somewhere. So in the layout, we have home. Okay, we have to get what's happening. Okay, leave it, fine. So US, now we have profile and home. Better to remove this too. Now we have home and profile. Fine. So we are creating a context from the context API and we are passing the name and age value. Now these two, this home layout and profile layout, these contain the data like name and age. They should be able to access both of them without passing it as props. So now let's check. But let's try the thing in the home layout first. So in the home.jsx, let's check how to do that. So in the components, we have this home.js. So we need to import two things: the context and the use context. I mean the use context from React and the user data from the global state. So save this, but we will have an error because the import location is wrong. So we can say import user data from context slash global context. Now the next step is to simply structure the name like this from this user context, and we have to pass the context name, which is user data. Now we can simply pass it as props, or you can create one more context here. So let me show you using props. So pass the name, and we are passing the name in the home page, which is the pages. So go to this pages, this, let's get it here. Now again you can add a context here or simply pass using this props. Now this component's home should contain this name. We can get it for as props. So we can say hello, this is this name. Now if you check, you will see this is Nishant. Fine. So this is how it's done. We can do the same in the profile as well, because the context is common. If you check in the app.jsx, you can see this. Fine. So you can also do this. So let's say in this services folder, we are calling an API. So you can get the data and you can pass the data in the components, all the components simultaneously using context API. So that was example of context API as well, how to use it in the architecture. And I guess that's pretty much it for now. And that is what is a great React architecture according to me. It can get better, and you can suggest how to make it better in the comment section of this video. So leave a like, hit the subscribe button, and the Hindi version is coming soon. So stay tuned. Thank you.